What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down a route that DBs cannot lock down. So I hope this video helps you guys out. I hope it can teach you a few new things about your route running and how you guys can create space. But also, fellas, we are going to be traveling out to 15 more states this offseason for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camp. So next up on our tour, we're going to be coming out to San Francisco, Orlando, New Orleans, Charlotte, Dallas, the DMV, St. Louis, Honolulu, Boston, Cleveland, Austin, Texas, Seattle, Newark, Denver, and Los Angeles. So if you guys are local to one of those cities, we would love to have you out to one of our camps. It's 2 days of training, 8 hours total. We're going to have DBs out there the second day for one-on-one, so a lot of reps and a lot of work. So check out that very first link in the description below if interested, fellas. Let's get started. So now, first clip we're going to be looking at is a tempo change dig from Cooper Kupp versus like off-man inside leverage. So if you got a DB who's sitting right at about 7 yards and you have to run like a 10-yard dig, what should you do? A great way to be unguardable, a great way for this DB to not have a chance is to use something we call a tempo change. This is a realistic game situation tempo change. So Cooper Kupp right here, when we have, again, this showcases the type of route running that we preach. So we have inside leverage coverage. He's an off man, right? So he's playing man. When he's inside shade, what routes is he trying to prevent? He's trying to prevent the inside route. So he's trying to prevent the slant. He's trying to definitely prevent the dig, the post. So if you were to go here, because everybody loves to try to stem this DB. Oh, we got to attack his leverage. We have to step on his toes. We have to attack his midline. When you have a DB who's lined up inside shade and you start to stem to the inside, he keeps that leverage because that's his sole responsibility. He wants you to stem way to the inside because that could run you into other routes across the field. He's keeping his inside leverage. He's trying to force you outside because the sideline is his help, especially when you're out of the slot, right? Especially when you're out of the slot. So we have to attack his outside shoulder. My goal is to be able to get him to flip open and commit to the fade so I can slip back underneath him. So A, I could get open, but B, I keep spacing on the play. Because if you're running a dig route and like, let's say opposite side of the field is running like a drag, but you stem way to the inside and you run this dig and you screw up the spacing of the play, that's on us. We have to maintain my spacing. So that's why it's important that you attack the outside shoulder. Now that's where the tempo change comes into play. So you see how Kupp, he goes here. He goes 100, 0, 100. So it looks kind of like that, like stutter go, slow down and go, like he's running a fade. And maybe he has done this before previously on film. Maybe he has done this before in this exact game on this same defender. It's about pairing your routes and your releases together, fellas. So he comes off here, right? Comes off fast, bursts off the line, good pad level, good speed, good stride. And then he changes his tempo. He raises up, does a little hezzy skip right there. So what that does is that kind of puts the DB on alert. He stops his feet. A DB is not going to run out of there like crazy if we don't slow down, or if we slow down, right? If I slow down, DB is going to slow down. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to match me by reading my body language, but also reading my speed and my stride. So when I start to slow down like this, he starts to slow down. Then when I accelerate, he accelerates. And that's how we can get that overreaction off him. Fellas, DBs are smart. DBs study film because that's kind of all they have, right? All they have is film study and relying on their technique. And if they think that they have one of our techniques down, you bet your ass when they see it, they're going to try to apply it, right? So when we come off here, like maybe a couple times Cooper Kupp throughout this season has ran like a seam. Maybe it's like a dagger concept, right? Where like the slot receiver runs a seam, outside receiver runs a dig. And he's done this tempo change and accelerated. So now that I'm running my dig, maybe I make it look the same. You pair it together so so we are as a receiver unpredictable to a DB. So we go here. He tempo changes, accelerates, and meanwhile he's attacking the outside shoulder. We got him to open up the gate, and guess what? I was able to maintain spacing, but also get separation. That is the name of the game playing the wide receiver position. Maintain spacing and timing with your QB and the play concept, and let's get separation. That's textbook right there from Kupp, and you see not a ton of separation, but that's all we need, especially a guy like him after the catch with a quarterback who's accurate, who can put the ball on him. That's a great job there by Cooper Kupp using a tempo change. So a tempo change dig, fellas, a tempo change post, anything tempo change against man coverage should be unguardable. DB should not be able to guard that if we do it correctly. That's the name of the game. If I do everything right, the DB has no chance. That's the mindset that we need to have as a wide receiver. So let's play this full speed. So he comes off, good tempo change, accelerate to the outside, and then wins on that dig route. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at a kind of a stop route here situation. So like if we were here And we have inside shade press. This is another situation where you can use like kind of a tempo change and get this DB to kind of overreact to the fade. Make him think it's a stop and go, make him think it's a stutter go, whatever. So let's play at full speed. So he comes off the ball, tempo change, accelerates, and then puts the brakes on. Now, again, this is another difficult route, right? Everybody, we get a lot of questions about different scenarios versus different routes. Like, coach, how do I run a post versus inside shade press? How do I run, like last example, a dig versus inside shade off man? Those tough situations, right? So this is like a stop route or maybe a curl route against inside shade, right? So if we got a curl inside shade press, that tempo change is a great way to get some space. So he comes off the ball, attacks his leverage. He's comfortable taking the outside release like we should be. Just because it's an inside breaking route, like a dig, like a curl, like maybe a stop where you're turning to the inside, doesn't mean that we need an inside release. You've got to be comfortable doing it either way. So he takes the outside release, right? Now my goal on every route is to make it look like a fade at a certain point. So he does this little tempo change, kind of change in speed at 5 yards, right? He's at 100, goes to 0, gets the DB's feet to stop, and then he accelerates up to 100 again. That forces that overreaction out of him. That's like pairing 3 routes together in one almost. He's making it look like that hitch, then he's making it look like a hitch and go, and then now he's running like a tempo change into a stop route, selling that 9. Again, fellas, it is incredibly hard to play the DB position when wide receivers can do this. When you can pair your releases together, when you can pair your routes together, like the change in tempo, like the stride, like selling vertical, that DB has no way of reacting to that, and that is what gets us open. That is textbook right there. That is a really good job from Deontay Johnson getting some separation on that stop route. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. And now we're going to talk about a more creative way to use that tempo change with a rocker step. So let's play this full speed. So he comes off here, little tempo change, accelerate, and breaks this thing right off. To win those tough situations, post versus inside shade, out route, corner route versus outside shade, that tempo change is always a great way to force a reaction out of that DB to where they can't guard this route. Okay, so this is a clip here from Thayer Thomas out of North Carolina State, I believe. And he's going to be running this like post route. It could be a dig route. I can't really tell. Versus inside shade off man. The defender is sitting right at the depth of the break. So this is like you got to run a 10-yard post and he's sitting at like 8 to 10 yards inside shade. So you got to give him something to wear, his outside shoulder. A lot of people think, oh, I should just stem him inside. Real game scenario, when you take a super wide stem and it's not designed that way, you can run into a lot of defenders, or a lot of receivers and a lot of other routes on the play, especially if this DB keeps his leverage. So we have to be comfortable attacking outside shoulder. Now, this is a very, very creative way to run this route. So let's play at full speed. So he comes off, same tempo change, but into a rocker step that gets him some separation. So it's the same kind of idea where you come off 100, go 0, then 100. But instead of accelerating, he does a 1-2 to maybe sell like he's running an out route, a corner route, something outside breaking. So this is kind of an advanced level way of using that tempo change to our advantage. So again, inside shade, got to attack the outside shoulder. He comes off, changes tempo, and then you see how he accelerates into this rocker step. And when he does this 1-2, I want you to pay attention to something. DB's watching his hips, right? So you see how his hips and his shoulders, and he's stepping outside the frame. These 3 key points, not outside of his frame, by the way, outside of the DB's frame. But those 3 key points right there, committing your hips, committing your shoulders, and stepping wide enough to sell this route is what can get this DB to bite in this specific case. That's what will get the DB to bite when it's press, off man, any scenario. But this is where we have to live. So again, I bring this up because as a DB, if I see you run up and I'm inside shade, where am I probably the most vulnerable? It's not to the inside. It's probably to the outside, especially when Thayer Thomas is lined up out of the slot, right? You see how we're here. He's out of the slot. He doesn't have a ton of space to the, well, maybe not out of the slot, but like for sure reduced split where he's cut down. This DB is probably most vulnerable to the outside because there's a lot of space over there, especially with the cut down split and especially being inside leverage. So if we can sell this enough, we can sell this route enough, we can threaten his outside shoulder enough, it's still man coverage. He doesn't want to get beat, but it comes down to me selling the movement. A lot of people are hesitant with this. A lot of people are hesitant with attacking the outside shoulder because they feel, oh, what if he doesn't bite? What if he just sits there? That's on you. You know what I mean? It's on, if he sits there, that's your mindset. You should take full responsibility for that. That's on me. I didn't do my job selling the route enough. I should be able to get separation on this because we've seen it time and time again. Guys are able to get open. If Thayer Thomas were to do this, or if you were to do this, and let's say you did this tempo change and then you did this 1-2, but like, let's say his hips and shoulders were already going. He just kind of stayed stiff with his upper body, but he just stepped outside. He didn't throw his hip to the outside. That wouldn't get a DB, a disciplined DB. That DB would just sit and you'd run right into him. So you have to make sure that we are prepared to sell this route, sell it with your speed, sell it by pushing vertical, but also with the movement and with your upper body. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Thomas changing tempo and then using that rocker step to get that DB to jump. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We really appreciate all the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, and we are coming out to 15 more states this offseason for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. So if you guys are local to one of these cities across the country, we'd absolutely love to have you out. Like I said in the beginning of this video, it's going to be 2 whole days of training. It'll be 8 hours of work. We're going to have DBs out there the second day for one-on-one. Hopefully half line concepts if we get enough DBs to show up as well. And again, fellas, it's not one of those camps where it's going to be like 200 kids. Like, I know we have a big audience and stuff like that, but we limit it. We limit it to only 50 slots because we want to keep the group small so we could actually coach you guys up. That's the whole point of it. It's a training camp. It's not one of those fake exposure camps that everybody loves to promote. It's just a straight up money grab. So if you guys want to get better, 2 whole days, 8 hours of training, check out that very first link below. We'd absolutely love to have you there. I'll see you guys next time.